T-Buzz here, and I'm really going to love telling you about today's presentation. I've lived it my whole trading career, but I always remember there's a high degree of risk involved in trading, and past performance is not indicative of future results. Now, in my opinion, when the market gets shaky, meaning you don't know what to do, whether to be long, whether to be short, or whether to be out, you need to have some information that most people don't have to give you the edge. Fed meetings is my topic of the day. Trading the Fed. I've been doing it for 40 plus years. I've been studying the Fed, and there's just a lot of information that I know about the Fed because I had to learn about it as a trader. Over the years, the Fed has changed quite a bit, especially when it comes to leadership, with some of the leaders being very dynamic, while others are not so much. Paul Volcker was the chairman of the Fed when I first got into trading. Let me give you a little history about who I consider the greatest Fed chairman of all time, Paul Volcker. Paul Volcker came in a period of time that high inflation and the country was going to a hell in a handbasket. And what I loved about Volcker was he had a mission, and the mission was to save the U.S. economy. And he did it without letting political pressure or anything affect his goal. And he did. We're living it all these years later. And what a character Paul Volcker was. Now, my second Fed chairman was Alan Greenspan. I still consider Greenspan the worst Fed chairman of all time. Even though I have to admit the current chairman that we have today is pushing him for that role. By following the chairman of the Fed, you learn their characteristics. And if you ever played poker or watching people respond, you can learn a lot about how they're going to respond during certain situations. Greenspan was that type of Fed chairman. I studied him, and I was able to make a lot of money off Greenspan once I figured it out. Greenspan would make decisions off the cuff, and it really made the financial markets erratic, which is not the job of the Fed chairman. I can remember days in the middle of the day he would make an interest rate decision without any notice. He loved that power. I still attribute the crash of '87 to his sporadic interest rate decisions at the time. Go back and study that. He had us going, and we were going, and then we'd have us going the other way. He had us so mixed up, nobody knew what to do. I still consider him a major part of what caused that crash on October 19th, 1987. Now, the current chairman, Jay Powell, is a political animal. I'm just going to tell you, that's bad. Let me explain. What he does is he might think one thing, but he lets the politics of the day influences his decision. Here's a real life example. Y'all remember early on, inflation started coming up, and he said inflation was transitory? Well, guess what? There was a reason behind that. The current administration wanted to pass a lot of bills. They knew that spending would not pass unless the Fed chairman would put that tone out there where gave people the confidence to play along. And that's exactly what he did. He colluded with them, and we paid the price. That is not good, and that's not anything that you want to be part of. But what you want to do is watch how he responds. He'll do it again. Now, he's already been told he will not be the Fed chairman if they have a change of administrations. And this meeting this week, the meeting in September, is going to be very important to watch how Jay Powell handles it. Now, America has suffered for over 3 years now because of high inflation every time you go to the grocery store. I want to give you a little background on how it got here. Now, for years, I traded the Fed decision live in front of large audiences around the country, for brokerage firms, for exchanges. Now, since I retired from that, I still trade the Fed every time they have a meeting. And so you need to know when those meetings are. The Fed has 8 meetings a year. You can go to the Fed website to learn more, www.federalreserve.gov/ and they'll tell you exactly when they have the meetings. What you want to be on the outlook for is the 2-day meetings. The 2-day meetings, you're going to have the Fed chairman talk. Now, there's also some great tools we didn't have in the past. The Fed Watch tool, you ought to go look at it. It tracks interest rate expectations by odds, and that helps you do some planning. Now, that's what it looks like when you take a look at it. And right now, they're forecasting a 95% chance of an interest rate drop in September. So if you're going to buy a house, you'd want to know that. This is good information. Now, they also have a Fed dot plot. This forecast is released 4 times a year. September's coming up. It's going to be really important for us to look at the dot plot going forward in September. And that's what it looks like. It sort of plots out what they expect interest rates to do. Very helpful knowing about this. Now, evaluating the chairman, Jay Powell, in the current economic environment, in my opinion, he'll do anything possible to prop up the financial system as we go into the fall. That's my opinion. Now, how do you trade it? Well, the setup happens at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on the last day of 2-day meetings. In this case, it's on a Wednesday. That's when the rate decision's released. You have something I call the Fed pivot. This is where I take the S&P, record that number, that opening at 2 o'clock, and that will be good for 72 hours trying to frame the direction that we go. Great trade over the next 72 hours after the Fed talks. The Fed chairman starts talking at 2:30. I usually wait till he finishes before I'll take that bigger trade. But there's other things you can do, like the Corvette trade. This is a short-term intraday trade. You play off the current momentum. It's easy to set up off that pivot number. You do a 30-minute bar. You can tell which way it's breaking. Always like the second pass. See if it goes up, like it pulled back and go up higher. That tells me it's a Corvette type day. The Model T trade is what I named it many years ago. That's where the real money is. It lasts for 72 hours. And after the Fed talks, you'll be able to handle an environment where the market's likely to head. The hidden secret is watch the German DAX prior to the Fed to get an early look on what foreign markets think is about to happen. I've had a theory for years. I always had the news announcement before we had here in America, because that DAX will move in the direction, of E-mini SPY QQQ. Folks, this is what I think after 4 years of trading the Fed. I tried to give you an overview, an outline of what to do. Pay attention, go to those websites, learn about the Fed, and especially know when you're planning your portfolio when these Fed days are. As I always say, I'll see you on the flip side.